I am the light of my soul, beautiful, I am bountiful. I am blessed, I am. There's a light in the soul that is unchanging, eternal, and beyond all fear, the Bhagavad Gita tells us. But many of us are overstimulated, overwhelmed, dysregulated, and underrooted in the light of our souls and the power of our divinity. And I want to spend the month of March and the holy days of Lent and Ramadan, where we can learn something from fasting and abstaining and come back into contact with the power of the light and the love in our own souls. Viva la revolution. It's a spiritual revolution, my friends. And this is how we serve the revolution.
Oh my goodness, this I know, this I know, this I know. What do we know, y'all? What do we know that we were just gifted with? This idea that spirit is all around, ever present, never missing. However, there's this work we have to do, and this is a great time of year to be talking about this. And for those of you who've known me for a while, you know I love a garden metaphor. And we're just seconds from spring, right? Officially, spring equinox is right around the corner. And this is the time of the year when we are preparing for the deep gardening season, the deep growing season. We are preparing to get into action. We are preparing our soil. But to know what we know that Tony was just telling us about, we have to be able to be conscious of it. We have to kind of crawl out from underneath everything we've piled on top of the truth. We have to clean the windows of what has gotten grimy and layered on top. Right? We got to rake the leaves away from the garden beds we want to plant, so that we can know, we can plant what is true. We can make space for what would naturally emerge if we hadn't layered a bunch of crap on top of it. Even though, what do we know about a bunch of crap? Compost. So of course we've all layered crap on top of stuff. Of course we've all gotten buried beneath misbelief in the conditions of our lives and the circumstances. And the work becomes composting that so that it can become useful. That moving the things out of the way so that what needs to grow can grow. And it will grow beautifully with all the fertility of the crap. Because none of us are coming to our souls without a life experience, without a story, without trauma, without fear, without anxiety, without bad decisions and terrible behavior. Right? We're all coming to our souls honestly. But in order to know what we know as the truth about God, that the divine is ever present and ever moving for good all around you and through you as you, because there can be no separation. If there's only one, that one is here right now as each one of us, as this air we breathe, as the ground we stand on, as the music we make, as the dance moves we will dance together soon. That presence is ever moving, never missing. But how we forget and how we disempower ourselves because we get buried under the crap. We get buried under the misbelief. We get buried under the divisiveness. We get buried under all of the doom scrolling. We get buried under the shock doctrine in the news feeds. We get buried under misunderstanding In our relationships, we get buried under false narratives. But what we can do is the spiritual work of clearing, the spiritual work of preparing. That word has been flying around a lot in these recent years, right? Preppers and preparedness and readiness. All of which is worthy conversation and things to be considering. But are you doing the work of readying and preparing your soul? Are you doing the work to clear away the false ideas, the false self, so that you can be the most powerful you can be to meet what needs to be met in these days? You can have all the beans and rice you want stored. But if you can't be who you were designed to be, it doesn't matter what you got in your cabinets. It doesn't matter what you have in your bank accounts. If you are crippled by fear, if you are crippled by us and them, if you are crippled by being contracted and shrunk into a version of yourself that is less powerful than you could be. Because we have each been designed with spiritual gifts. We have each been already seeded with everything we need to be what is required of the new world we want to build together. It's already here in you. This is the difference, right? We love to plant an annual veggie garden. I don't know about you, but I love perennials too, and I have a lot of space dedicated to perennials and native plants and pollinator gardens and all the things, but I'm gonna get my squash and tomatoes too, right? But what I want you to know is you are a perennial. You've already been seeded and designed. You don't have to do anything. There's not a seed out here you need to plant to be who you are. And to be who you are powerfully. In my early 20s, I was a hot mess. If some of you know my story, the mess was messy, which meant I had to be institutionalized more than once. And in the last sort of chapter of that part of my life, I was at this healing center, AKA mental health facility in the mountains. And I was doing this practice there, and we were deep in therapy, and I was doing the things, and I was there for several weeks. And I found myself, after weeks of being there, we would sneak out of our rooms at night and go lay outside under the trees. It was a beautiful environment. And which was probably the best part of my healing journey, right, was to be out there in nature. But anyways, I was laying under the trees, and I was looking up, and I started to see colored lights. And at first, I was like, am I having a flashback? Entirely possible. And then I kept seeing the colored lights. And then I looked, I nudged my friend, and I was like, do you see that? And they were like, okay, crazy lady, no, we do not. And what I recognized later, because I had no idea what I was looking at, I was seeing auras of the trees. Because I had been completely removed from the noise of my life in this beautiful place where the nature of myself got to emerge. I was already seated with that capacity. Let's fast forward 30-some years. I'm in Egypt. As many of you know, I spent January in Egypt. And again, I am removed from the noise and the habits of my life. And suddenly, the healing that I was used to doing in my 20s during that time, the skill that I had developed as a body worker, the skill that I had developed as an energy worker in my 20s, suddenly emerged. With the space, having cleared my calendar, having cleared the ridiculousness of my schedule, This natural capacity in me began to rise. My neighbor was saying to me the other day that, because I'm waiting to give her compost. I always have compost to share because there's a lot of crap around here. So I was saying, you ready for some compost? And she said, no, I got to clear my beds because I don't even know what's growing in there anymore. I got to rake them off entirely because I can't tell you what's sprouting. I need to clear them so I can see what is trying to rise. This is the work of our spiritual practices. It's not so that we can become YouTube famous. It's not so that we can be cooler or look awesome in our spiritual circles. The world is calling you to show up wholly and powerfully as the truth of who you are. And I'm telling you, the truth of who you are is full of spiritual gifts. And we are now ready in this culture, in this moment, as everything we thought we knew and could rely on is falling away. The stability of what we are used to is shaking everywhere in all the ways. Spirit is trying to rise through your life, through my life, to meet it with the actual skills and capacities that are needed in this time. You've been seeded already with what you need to meet your life in this moment. But the work is the clearing. The work is the removing what needs to be removed so you can see what's trying to rise in you. This is why we fast. We've been fasting and abstaining in March. So we can get out of the way the noise of our life, the noise of our inner minds, to see, to hear, to feel what Spirit is trying to rise in us. This is why we meditated and did solitude practice in February. This is why we did Sabbath in January. All of these being-focused practices so that we can let Spirit move in the way that Spirit has been uniquely designed to move in you. And again, not to look away from conditions, not to look away from the horror, the tragedies, to become so present to it with the truth of who you are that you become ungovernable, that you become unshakable, that you become so deeply rooted with those roots of your true nature, with your capacities and with the powers you've been designed with, that when the storm comes, your soil doesn't wash away. You are ready. You are prepared. Soil without roots wash away in the storm. But because you do the preparing work that allows you to deepen your own rootedness in truth, there is no storm that will wash you away. You are rooted. You are ready. This is what's possible when we do the work. And the work could look micro. The work might be for you what I call the phone free for 10 minutes in the morning. Just don't go for the phone first thing. Give yourself 10 minutes with just the self. Swap the scroll. Put the phone down, put the scrolling, put the binging, watching, put it down and swap it for some deep breaths. Abstain from anything in your life that has you shrinking, contracting, and playing too small. And empty yourself through fasting, through releasing, and make room for the buds trying to pop and blossom inside you. This is how the new world we want to be living in comes into being. It's through you. It is through your spiritual gifts. It is through your unique design. God knows exactly what it's doing with you, as you. So I want to end today with a blessing that will wrap up our series and that you can leave with, hopefully, a little prayer to take with you as a seed. May the seed that you are blossom. May the gifts planted in you rise through the soil. May the powers you've kept quiet rise into the light of day. You were planted here on purpose. Let spirit move.